Well, John, following the performance on Tuesday night at Walsall, have you noticed a spring in the step of the players, or was it very much a very consistent tone from their point of view?
No, I mean, obviously the players are pleased with the way they've played. They're pleased that they've got something out of the game as well, as we all are. But we know that there's still big steps to be made, big steps going forward. We've looked at what we did well. We've looked at what things we can improve on, and we've contrasted it with other performances and see what we've done on one side and at one game, and what we haven't done on the other. And it's a learning curve. Obviously, shifting formations as well. You know, players have to get used to that. And just looking at some of the data from the game the other night, it was pleasing. It reinforced what we tried to do. So we had a data pack for before the game, and then we had it for after the game, and a lot of our objectives were ticked off in what we tried to do to them and how we tried to play, and how we got our shape. So going forward, whatever shape we play, and there's no guarantee that we stay with that shape Saturday, but whatever shape we play, we've got to be prepared to understand it for one and embrace it for two. And whatever shape you play, when it all boils down to it, it's 11 v 11. So you've got to get your 11 more at it than the other 11 that you're playing against, and hopefully you get that little bit of luck to win the game.
The contrast of emotion from Saturday evening to Tuesday evening must have been night and day.
Yeah, it literally was night and day.
It was, yeah.
Day and night.
That wasn't meant, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. No, it is. No, yeah, total ends of the spectrum, and it's difficult to turn things around such a quick time, so the players have to take credit for that. You know, we as staff try to encourage them. We're quite on an even keel from that perspective, but you know, there was a lot of soul searching on Monday, and that's when you have to step up and do your job, and that's when you're there and you can't really. And I was pleased with the response we got, but that, you know, that'll count for nothing if we don't get that same response and more on Saturday. With a hell of a lot more of our fans were brilliant during the night, by the way. I can't thank them enough. The noise they made, the appreciation they showed for the players. And I've said this, you know, from when I first walked in. It's a two-way process, you know. It's got to be like a marriage. You can't have just one person being the one who's providing all the support. So the fans have got to obviously support the team, but the team have got to give them something to support. They've got to give it back, and probably give it back more, to be honest. So it was great that we seen that, but on Saturday we're going to have, you know, 10 times that, you know, 15 times what we had the other night, and we've got to please them. We've got to excite them. I think they're looking forward to the game, which is a good thing. And the thing is, you can always raise people's expectations, you can't lower them. I think we've raised people's expectations now, we've raised the bar, and that's the bar that we've set. Nobody else, we've set that bar, we've got to keep to it, and maybe go above it.
Just finally for me, before I hand over to Ben, a bit of housekeeping. Colin Masterson, Ethan Coleman, any chance either of them will make it?
They were both running on the grass today, so I don't think they'll be fit for Saturday, but it was good to see them back on the grass.
Lovely. John, thank you. Ben?
He won't be fit for the weekend, but he's getting closer, as is Ewan. Ewan's getting closer as well, so yeah, it's we're getting positive news rather than negative news at the moment.
John, I make it 6 weeks in the role for you. How much does it feel like it's been in charge of the football club?
I've got to stop touching my head, by the way. It's been enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's been plain sailing. It's been tough. And any football manager will tell you that when you come into a new environment, it's difficult. It's difficult because people don't know the way you operate. You don't really know the way they operate. And it's getting to know each other in a short space of time, getting to know people's nuances, you know, what floats people's boats, what motivates people. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult, but it is enjoyable. as football should be. You know what? It was crazy really, because on Tuesday we sort of went back to basics and said to the players, listen, there's your positions. If you weren't professional footballers, you're professional footballers, you should be able to know how to play your position. Go and enjoy it. I think they did enjoy it. They worked ever so hard. But I think in life, if you work hard for anything and you see something at the end of it, you feel an intrinsic sense of well-being, of a good feeling about yourself. And you can't buy that with money. You can't. You can't buy a good feeling with money. People might think you can, but that intrinsic feeling of working hard for something and getting in and achieving it, and we only achieved the point, but it was something. I want us to feel like that with a win. And you know, every game we play, we try and win, and we'll try and win on Saturday.
After the goal, it felt like that was quite a poignant moment where the players were celebrating with the fans, and it almost felt like step one really for kind of repairing that relationship a little bit.
100%. And after the game, it was good as well. The fans appreciated it. I spoke to some of the fans before the game actually. A couple of the fans got on the coach. I was sitting on the coach having a cup of tea with Paul Cook, the Chesterfield manager. And a couple of fans came up and had a chat with us, and you know, I think you know, we spoke to them, or I spoke to them, and I think they were pleased that they saw the response that they got. But as I said, it's, you know, it's great to get that little camaraderie between the players and the fans, but you've got to back that up with a win, particularly at home. And I've said all along, and I've said to these players from day one, I'm a football fan. The one thing I will always forgive is hard work, when people work hard. Because no one's got a divine right to play well. Sometimes it's not your day. Sometimes you can be very unlucky. And yet we rose above our bad luck, because their goal is an absolute fluke. You know, Glenn's barely had a save to make in the game, and it's a shot that's going miles wide, and it hits him and goes in, and then we have a shot. It hits one of our players and hits their player on the line. He doesn't block it, it hits him. And that's when, you know, when you're at the top and at the bottom. And then, you know, we've had two games running now where we've had a stonewall penalty. Not my words. They're the words of the fella who is the head of the referees. So, you know, they know that there's been a major mistake made, and that's 2 games running. It's going to make a lot of difference in games. The second, the Wolves all won. We're really on the ascendancy then. There's no guarantee you'll score them pens, so I'll never say that cost you the game. But we're really on the ascendancy. The lad who committed the transgression was on a yellow card. So we're smelling blood at that time. And I think that would have really deflated their fans as well. But, you know, you're in the lap of the gods with that. You can't, I'm never going to moan about that. I'm never going to hide behind excuses and that. But they're the fine margins in football. You know, and you've only got to look back at last night, Liverpool's game. You know, and that could cost Liverpool the title when you see 2 goals scored, one's a foul, and one's a non-foul for the 2 Everton goals. So that's the fine margins in football, and it's not just people at our level who suffer from it. It's all levels of football. And then when you look even further at how difficult it is to be a referee, you know, and you've got to make a split decision. Sometimes when you're running at full pace, and you've got to make a decision in about 3 seconds. You know, I did a talk for the referees about 8 to 9 weeks ago. And one of the things I pointed out, I said, you know, if we got anyone out of any walk of life, and you got them outside on a track and you got them to sprint 100 metres and then give them 4 maths questions that they had to get right within 10 seconds, there's a good chance that they get a couple of them questions wrong. And they're getting scrutinised every single week by camera angles from all different angles, or cameras from all different angles. So it's such a tough job, and you know, you just have to realise that at our level, that's going to be mistakes are going to get made, and you've just got to hope that you're in the box in the opposition's box enough so that when the mistakes made, they're not catastrophic, whereas they don't cost you goals. And keep plugging away, and you get what you deserve. And you know, instead of worrying about referees' mistakes, try and eliminate the mistakes that you make yourself. And that's me as a manager and my players as players.
Liverpool, they'll be fine, don't worry about it. Just in terms of Robbie's goal, obviously, you know, probably give me a goal of the season now, sort of thing. But I'm sure you'd rather your team scored a few more tap-ins, wouldn't you?
I don't know, I quite like seeing them goals coming. I must admit I did. I don't normally celebrate goals because I always think it comes back and bites me on the backside, but I must admit I did celebrate that. No, any goals, lovely for me. You know, I was a goal scorer. I enjoyed scoring 30-yarders, but I'd take two yarders over one 30-yarder every day of the week. It's just great for us to score. I've got a goal of the month contender now, so I've got 2 now, haven't I? So, but no, and if you look at Robbie's overall play, it was excellent. Got a couple of hefty whacks as well, so he soldiered through them, which was good. And yeah, I'd like us to score more goals. There's no getting away from that. It was good that our forwards linked up better on Tuesday. Both sets of, so you know, we had 3 different parents, didn't we, at one stage, you know, and they all seemed to gel quite well. You know, they played off each other, which I think we've got a bit disjointed. When we first came in and we were playing 2 up front, we got the 2 didn't really play off each other. Then we went to 3 up front, which didn't really work with the players that we had, because we isolated the central forward, and the two outside forwards who were supposed to rotate didn't, and you end up playing a straight line. So you know, we had to revisit that, and there's no saying that we won't play a 4-4-2. There's no saying we won't play a 4-2-3-1. There's no saying we won't play a 4-1-2-3. There's lots of different positions or systems that we can play, but as I said before, it all boils down to it's 11v11, and you know, your team should be fluid to drop in for one another. You know, one of the things that the opportunity that we could have lost the game the other night was through Gailey, with an art like as big as Liverpool, closing down 4 or 5 people, and ended up closing down the keeper from centre half, and then the ball goes into his slot, and they nearly score. Now, how would you want to take that enthusiasm out of a young player? Fans love that, don't they? I love that as a fan. I love that as a manager. But when that happens, maybe people have got to tuck in, and we've got to be mindful of that. But you don't want to take that enthusiasm out of a player. And if you have 11 players like that, wow.
Just in terms of the fans, and kind of, there's been a bit of chat this week about kind of the identity of the Gillingham team, and that performance Tuesday was seemingly what they want to see. It's now just about, as you say, producing that more consistently, isn't it?
It is, you know, and it's not funny, but when I reflect, that's been the norm for Man and Jimmy's teams over the years. That's the minimum that we get. And I realise that sometimes when the confidence is low, you mightn't get that. And there's been times when we haven't had that, you know, in certain teams that we've managed. And, you know, lots of the time, you know, we must have regurgitated or reinvented about 15 teams at Accrington over the years. And it has taken time. They don't all just become like that, you know. You have to mould them into that. But it has to become the norm. Here, that has to be Gillingham's identity. You know, when I first came in, I spoke about the similarities between dockside places like Liverpool and Gillingham, and having the same sort of personalities and fight, and you know, a desire to put your heads above the water and live a little. And sometimes that big escape is a football match. And from where we're from, that's what you demand, that's what you'd expect. I'm sure people in Gillingham are exactly the same. And so I want to deliver that, and I want that to become the norm. So, you know, whilst I'm made up that people are praising us for that, I don't want to be praised. I want that to be the acceptable norm. And then when we do moments like Robbie did, that's when the praise should come out even more.
And to be praised for hopefully getting 3 points, I'm sure that's...
Oh, that's right up there on my list, yeah. It's the mad thing about football, you can't guarantee anything. You know, and there's so many, and that's what makes it the beautiful game in my eyes. So many variables, so many unpredictable things that can happen. You've got to believe that you're going to win. If you go out thinking that you're not going to win, you're definitely not going to win. And every time I've took to the football pitch, or as a player, and every time I've put a team out, I've believed I could win, even when we've been playing against much higher opposition. I've had that built into me since I was playing my brother one-on-one in the gates when he was 6 years older than me. I was probably playing him from the age of 7 when I had no chance of beating him. Till by the time I was 11, I was giving him a good game. And so I've always believed I could win, even no matter what the opposition was like. He was a good art kid, by the way. He was a good player, me brother. But I've always believed I could overcome something that was better than me, just by one, dedication, but two, you know, sticking your chest out and believing that you're gonna do it. You've got a far better chance when you believe.
And obviously Crewe are well known for the style of football that they play. From your own point of view, you've had some good starts here at Priestfield. Is it maybe the case of getting the first goal and riding on from that?
I'm desperate for it to score the first goal. I'm hoping that playing at 3 o'clock might make a difference. Clutching the scores there. No, I'm hoping that we can score the first goal. That we can take the lead and we can try and build on that. I'm sure Crewe will be thinking exactly the same. You know, I've seen some of their game on Tuesday night, and quite unfortunate really the way that game panned out for them. And as you said, as their manager has acknowledged, you know, they did play well, but you don't always get what you deserve. And sometimes the football and gods are against you, and you just have to accept that. But don't let it get you down. You know, try and fight against it. And if you've got spirit and you've got determination, it doesn't overcome everything, you know, and desire will never overcome everything, because I've said this before, no one wanted to be a professional footballer more than me. And I didn't make it, as my dad used to say, make the grade, but I didn't become a professional footballer. I did the next best thing and become a professional football manager, but there's no one who desired it more, but you know, you die trying, basically, and that's what we've got to do.
Sorry, just one more from me. The captaincy call, was it a tough call to make, that change?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Since I've come into the club, so 6 games, Max has probably been our most consistent player. Max and Robbie, basically, I think, be our 2 most consistent players. But I felt we needed to get more influence higher up the pitch. I felt as though Max would benefit from concentrating just on marshalling the defence, which he did superbly during the night. And, you know, I think I've been in the position of being captain and had it taken off me when I was on a great run, when I was captain of Southport. And I quickly realised after the first game, it didn't change the way you played, didn't change the way you interacted with people. You can be a captain on the pitch without having the armband on. We didn't have armbands then. But, you know, you should have 11 captains. The reality is you don't. This day and age, and with just society in general, there is a lack of leadership, I would think, in the world, basically. But it doesn't mean that 3 or 4 people can't step up to the plate and influence the rest of the players who are playing. Some might do it by action, some might do it with the mouth. But you've got to get that balance of of getting everybody on the same page and fighting for the cause and celebrating your little mini wins and trying to all push forward together. And so that's why I think there should be 3 or 4, 5, 6 captains on the pitch, and hopefully we'll have that on Saturday.
Armani kind of leads by example, doesn't he, with the way that he plays?
He does, but he's also quite vocal. He's not scared to open his mouth. I think we've got a natural captain in here, Sam Gale, coming through, a bit young at the moment, but I will be amazed if Sam Gale doesn't captain Gillingham at some point in his career.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Just looking at Crewe's form, you mentioned unpredictability, and you mentioned now maybe they're a bit unlucky the other night, but it can be a bit dangerous to make assumptions for teams.
Yeah, but you know, the form and the results don't always tell a story. You know, if the decisions that we should have had this week would have gone our way, we could have been coming away with 2 away wins. And not out the ordinary, they're both nailed on decisions that could have led to penalties and sending offs. And that's the fine lines in football. So you can sometimes get misled by what is determined as form. You know, results, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily. Results don't necessarily relate to form. We do our due diligence on Crewe, like we always do with every team, and we'll try and come up with a plan, as I'm sure they will be doing exactly the same against us. You know, they'll be doing the same work that we're doing. And then on the day, you just need a bounce of a ball, but you certainly need everyone up for it, and that's our main focus on Saturday.
There was a few penalty shouts, one Tuesday. Was it the one on Nev?
It was the one on Nev. It's, you know, you couldn't get a more clear penalty if you tried. The lad tries to swipe at the ball. There's a terrible mix-up with him and the goalkeeper. He has a swipe at the ball. Nev gets there first, knocks it past him, and he wraps him on the shin. It meets every criteria for the penalty, and then the only decision the referee should have had to make was, is it a yellow? The goalkeeper's in no man's land. And he's booted him on the middle of the shin. So if he gives him another yellow, he's sending him off as well. And then you'd be taking a pen against 10 men. There's no guarantee you score pens. But that's where you don't always get what you deserve.
You already did, you got what means dead.
Yeah, strange one really, because I've come into the Gillingham dugout, or being a manager, trying to influence what I can influence and not be losing my temper with the officials, which I haven't done. I was very, very cordial with the 4th official, never raised my voice at any stage. I questioned whether their player, I intimated that their player had stood on our player, like, I wouldn't say surreptitiously, but it might have been an accident, but I think there was a little bit of contact there. And I think the 4th wasn't paying attention. I think the 4th was looking at the board. And then one of their staffers took exception to that, or took umbrage, a nice word. And well, they call me fathead actually. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, because I've got a fathead. But all I said was, it's got nothing to do with you. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to them. And then, you know, it gets a little bit of a heated dialogue, but nothing that can't be managed. And in my eyes, it was an unnecessary booking for both of us, but that's the way of the world at the moment. The amount of yellow cards issued to technical areas has gone off the graph. You know, I'd say it'd be up by 5,000% in the last 2 years alone. So I don't think it's making the game any better, that's for sure.
Mentioning Nev coming up against the former team, possibly selected, does that spark something else in the player?
You'd have to ask the player that. One thing I was always, I'm big into me, people who say, oh, you shouldn't celebrate against your old club when you score. That's nonsense for me now. you know, you're paid to do a job for your club. If you score, you should celebrate, regardless of who it is against. I'm hoping he's got that dilemma on Saturday.
You see goals coming from him. It's on a bit of a barrel run at the minute.
Well, we know there's goals in him. I remember him scoring a heartbreaker against me last year in the 95th minute. We know there's goals in Nev. I watched all his clips back yesterday, funny enough. The work rate he got through was phenomenal for the good of the team. He knows there's areas he needs to improve on. And we've had a chat about that, and we'll continue to try and modify that and try and get him to be better at his job. But he gives everything he's got. And he was struggling a little bit injury-wise with a couple of knocks he had. And you've seen him a minute before he's taken off, he's galloping back to try and close the defender down. How can you ask for any more than that?
There's some players that are Asher Benign, has he got anything?
Injured, yeah.
Short term, long term?
Medium term, I think. I think he's going to go back to Palace for some rehab.
Yeah, okay. What was the nature of it?
Hamstring.
Okay. Nelson,
No. Nelson's still coming to terms with, you know, the move down here, which is a big shift. I know he's been down south before, but it's a big shift. We chose to go down a certain path. Nelson could have easily started the game the other day. It was a toss-up whether he started or not. We felt as though we had better options for someone to come on the bench, off the bench. That's why he wasn't in the squad. But he was certainly up for selection. So there was a good chance he could have started. So it was 50-50 whether he started the game. But we felt we had better options if we were going to put somebody on. That's why he wasn't sub, but he was close to starting.
Because you brought Jadon Clark back in, didn't you? I mean, he's not been getting too many minutes recently, but what's he got to do to get back in?
Jadon Clark?
Yeah.
Like everybody else, you know, we've got a big squad, so people have to be disappointed, aren't they? And sometimes you might rotate your subs in for what you think you need for a certain day. You know, Jadon's our leading goal scorer, so, you know, he hasn't been cast aside like people might think. You know, we've got lots of talent. Aaron Rose, a talented player, very talented player. You know, young Wakey is a classic example of, you know, there's still something in him that we could get out of. So there's players there that, you know, mightn't get involved, and everyone says, oh, they're getting cast aside. They're not. They've just got to keep working hard, and then when they get their opportunity, they've got to take it. And that's the same for any player. You know, there's no favourites here. There's no one who's nailed on to play. There's no cast iron certainties. Every shirt's up for grabs every week, and it's the ones who do the most will get it. That might be, you know, their attitude in training. That might be how they play in training. That might be how they show the fitness, what they bring to the party. There's loads of things that you'd have to determine. At the end of the day, because you've got a squad of this, and when we've got, and then when we get players coming back, the likes of, you know, just to name two, Ethan and Connor, and then it gets even further, and you can only pick 18 players in your squad, so people are going to be disappointed. What we did on Tuesday was we made sure everyone's travelled, because we want to try and get this togetherness, that even if you're not in the 18, you're there to support the lads, because you might need them to support you the following week, and that's the way it's got to be. That's the only way you build a successful football club or a football squad, and a playing staff. That's the only way you do it, by getting everybody buying into that. It's a collective. It's not a personal thing. It's a collective. And when you need it, and you give your all. And when you're not needed, you give your all in support for the people who are playing.
That's right.
Did it hurt or frustrate you to have to say what you did last Saturday?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, the first thing I look at is myself. So I'll never shy away from taking responsibility, and you know, I've been brought to give this club a shake-up, really. and give the team a shake-up. And I felt I'd failed my duty in that by the response I got for the last half hour of a game on Saturday. You know, I sat the players in here on Monday morning and I told them I stand by my comments. And I invited, you know, them to tell me I was wrong. Not many did. And the fact is if you don't self-reflect and you don't look at what your input is into any kind of situation, particularly when it becomes a problem, like it did become a problem at the weekend, if you can't understand what your impact is on it, and you're not prepared to recognise what your impact is on it, you won't go anywhere near solving any problems that you've got. So sometimes that has to be kept in-house, sometimes it has to be made public. The big thing I wanted to put across was that empathise with the fans, put yourself in their shoes. If you've travelled 6 or 7 hours to watch a game of football, that's cost you a lot of money to do it, so you've given up your time, you've worked hard all week to earn the money that you've used to pay for that. What would you feel like if that's what you saw for the last 30 minutes? And the previous hour wasn't great, but it was acceptable. But that last 30 minutes wasn't acceptable. And so I wanted the players to feel that, to feel their pain.
Did you get a response you wanted?
Well, you tell me, do you think we got a response on Tuesday? I think we did. Now, whether that was down to me, you know, you'll never know. But I think the fans who travelled, and don't forget, a lot of them will be the same fans who travelled to Barrow, will have travelled to Walsall. Ask them how they felt at the end of both games. And I think that'll tell you everything you need to know.
You say, do you think captain aside is takes a certain different read of the plan, and some have got it, some haven't?
Yeah, I think it's an honour, and I think the one thing I know about Max Eamer is he realises it's an honour. So he was hurt when it was taken off him as team captain. He's still club captain, and you know, I think he is captain material for sure. I think he loves the club. But I agree with you. It takes a certain style of player to be a captain. Some take to it like a duck to water, some don't. Some it makes them play better, some they feel a burden. Now, I don't think Max particularly feels the burden. What I was pleased with, the response I got from Max, you know, because I only told him on Monday morning, you wouldn't have known by how he played that he'd had that, you know, put on him on Monday. He responded well, he marshalled the defence brilliantly. And you wouldn't, from his playing perspective, you wouldn't know that he's had the capacity enough.
Are you happy with your new captain's performance?
I was happy with all the performances. So, you know, when you're a manager and you come off and you reflect on the game, and then you watch the video back, one of the things you find over the years of when you're doing this so long is that when you watch videos back, you're never as bad as what you thought you were, and you're never as good as what you thought you were. I think you had the exceptions on Saturday and Tuesday. We were as bad as what I thought we were on Saturday, and we were as good as what I thought we were on Tuesday. But it's very rare as a manager that you can't fault any of your players. And I couldn't have faulted any of our players. Even the subs made a difference. I couldn't have faulted anybody who pulled a Gillingham shirt on. And long may that continue.
Did you have any run-ins with Crewe while you were at Accrington, reasonably local?
I had a disappointing game last time. We were 2-1 down, 3-2 up, and Nev scored in the 97th minute. A bit like Liverpool's goal, the goal against Liverpool last night. I thought he played 20 seconds too long against Crewe, and I think he played 20 seconds too long last night.
Well, as an Arsenal fan, I disagree with that.
Yeah. Well, it makes it interesting, doesn't it?
But no, you're itching just to get out of this Saturday and get 3 points on.
Yeah, but people, people can not get carried away because I want people to believe in us. It won't happen just by turning up, that's for sure. And Crewe aren't going to roll over, I can guarantee you that. Crewe have got a great chance of getting promoted. So this, if anyone thinks, oh, it's just Crewe's in a bad run, we've just turned the corner on Tuesday, we're going to win. If any of the players thinking that, they better stop thinking it very, very quickly. It's going to take a lot of hard work, as it does to win any game of football. But it's going to take a lot of hard work, and we've got to build on what we did on Tuesday, not just say, well, that's it. We've got to that stage now. That'll suffice for a couple of weeks. No, it won't. We've got to get better and better and better. Hopefully we will. As I've said before, there's no guarantees about that.